sort of philosophy. This is Ronald Reagan and George Bush stuff, and the fact that he can get away with it and that Mr. Obama is supporting him should dispel any thought that Mr. Obama is talking straight when he talks to the people.
In an earlier article of yours called Wall Street's Power Grab, the Financial Crisis Inquiry Commission hearings, you say that Haiti's earthquake knocked the Financial Crisis Inquiry Commission hearings off the front pages. What were those commission hearings?
Well, the Congress had started to have hearings on how was the $13 trillion of bailout money given away? What was happening here? And they were having really exciting hearings with key state prosecutors talking about the financial fraud that had occurred in Illinois, New York, Massachusetts, and how Mr. Obama had fought against prosecuting fraud, how he was defending the financial criminals, and how he was making it impossible for the government to stop financial crime. And just as they were testifying before these congressional committees, the earthquake in Haiti just took up almost the entire news hour of most of the television broadcasts, took up most of the papers, and so there was hardly any discussion in the press or in the media about the expose of Mr. Obama's hypocritical action, and the state prosecutors were just desperate to let people know that Mr. Obama was on the side of the financial crooks, protecting them and taking his anti-consumer and anti-labor stance. That all came out in the hearings. All of this has been published, and I cite all of the testimony that was given and some of the things that were said.
Well, yes, according to your article, Wall Street's Power Grab, you mentioned blocking the creation of a consumer protection agency.
That's now at the top of the president's agenda. He wants to make sure that when he tells people he's going to protect the consumers, he wants to make sure that Congress doesn't actually enact such a law, or that if Congress does it, the Senate won't pass it, or that it will all be sort of pushed out. And over the last year, the financial sector lobbyists have been very active on Wall Street, pressuring politicians to scuttle the law, and it looks like they've succeeded.
As well, in these Financial Crisis Inquiry Commission hearings, you point out that that they were exposing that he was going to avert any thought of reenacting Glass-Steagall.
That's above all things. That's the key. Unless Glass-Steagall or something like it is reenacted, you're going to have banks needing bailouts again and again and again because of the just the pure mathematics of compound interest growing and growing. This is why Mr. Obama very quickly, right after the defeat in the Massachusetts senatorial race, he trotted out the old Chase Manhattan, my boss's boss from Chase Manhattan, Paul Volcker, and had him stand by him while saying we've got to redraw these lines. But that's only for public consumption because Mr. Volcker had been sidelined for the last year, sort of put in the back office, nobody paying any attention to him, as the Wall Street Journal pointed out. And after there was that very quick attempt to make up for the losses in Massachusetts, you now hear very little from Mr. Volcker again. And the financial sector wants to make sure that there's further consolidation and across-the-board mergers to make it impossible for any government agency to move against them or to regulate them. And so nobody's really expecting any reintroduction of Glass-Steagall or any separation of powers between the financial sector, the insurance sector, and the investment and commercial banking.
Right, and I guess I should have mentioned that the main thing that Glass-Steagall did was separate commercial from investment banking.
Yeah.
Right. I read somewhere that someone was speculating that the reason that Volcker was given an appointment was that so he couldn't be a critic from the outside.
That's part of it. If you appoint somebody as one of your advisors, it makes it very difficult politically for the advisors to begin going out in the newspaper and giving interviews saying how bad your policy is. So what Mr. Obama did was appoint Mr. Volcker as an advisor, then ignore him, and that pretty much sterilized Mr. Volcker's ability to go and say, wait a minute, what the country needs is a Glass-Steagall Act, just the opposite of what Mr. Obama is promoting. So essentially, he neutralized any public relations and political effort that Mr. Volcker might be able to make. I don't think Mr. Volcker is a troublemaker in any case and wouldn't do it, but this just made sure that taking him on as an advisor is what I guess President Johnson said of J. Edgar Hoover. He'd rather have him inside the tent pissing out than outside pissing in.
That's right. I guess I read that in one of your articles about Volcker. I'm speaking with financial economist and historian Dr. Michael Hudson. Today's show, Obama's Republican Class War Presidency. I'm Bonnie Faulkner. This is Guns and Butter. Well, getting back to Obama's State of the Union speech, you point out that, generally speaking, it's Obama's claim that Main Street simply cannot prosper without creating hundreds of Wall Street billionaires.
This is a wonderful trickle-down philosophy that he has. And that's the great myth, that somehow the host needs a parasite on its back or it can't live. Somehow that the workers and industry really need the rich people to get richer and richer because they're the people who create the jobs. This is the idea that Thomas Malthus of population theory fame had 200 years ago when he came out in his Principles of Political Economy and said, look, it's really good that we have a rich, idle landlord class, because if we didn't have the landlords collecting all this rent, who would buy the buggies? Who would buy all the fine fashions? Who would employ all of the servants and the butlers and everybody else? You really need the rich, or the rest of your economy would just have insufficient demand and you'd be in a slump. This essentially is the program of Mr. Bernanke and Mr. Obama. They say, we need Wall Street to collect all this money from us as debt service, because if Americans didn't go further and further into debt, how would they make savings for the rich people that help build all of our factories? Well, obviously, Wall Street is not building factories. Wall Street is dismantling factories and moving them abroad to make money. So this whole trickle-down philosophy really went out with the Eisenhower administration, and all of a sudden, Mr. Obama, of all people, the Democrats, are reintroducing it. And to anyone who remembers what used to be said or who has a knowledge of the history of economic thought, this is just junk economics.
Well, yes, along that line, in another article of yours, the Bernanke reappointment, Be Afraid, Be Very Afraid, you point out that the wealthiest 10% of the population save most of their money. Their savings are lent out to the bottom 90% or gambled in derivatives or other zero-sum activities in which their gain, if they make any, is some other party's loss.
That's right. What Wall Street claims is, wait a minute, what builds all of your factories? What employs you? People's savings, and the economy isn't saving more. What we have to do is cut taxes on wealth and cut taxes on savers even more so that they'll have enough money to save, and they won't waste it employing people or government spending on Medicare or government spending on public services or infrastructure. We've got to cut taxes on the rich so they'll have more money to save. Well, what they don't look at is the fact that gross savings are as high as they've ever been in the U.S. economy. They're about 18% of national income. But all of this gross saving almost is done either by the wealthiest 10% of the population, or it's forced savings by labor in the form of the Social Security and pension and Medicare pre-savings that isn't really available for spending. So this money is lent out by the wealthiest 10% to the bottom 90%, or In the case of the Social Security and Medicare Trust Fund, the money's lent out to the government so that it can cut taxes on the upper brackets. So all of this is a kind of patter talk, an excuse to cut taxes on the rich, and essentially it's put the class war in business. So when the Obama administration and Mr. Bernanke and his